everyone. Thank you so much for stopping by the talent show today, where we're celebrating the people that bring humanity to business. I'm Rebecca, and I'm so excited that you're here joining us today for a conversation that I think is really important, especially this time of year as we're wrapping up the year, looking to 2026. It's a conversation about values and how foundational they are to our personal life as well as our work life. So this week, you might not have known, but everyone, it is Compliance and Ethics Week. And that means today we're going to talk more than policies and procedures. We're going to really talk about, get personal and foundational about how our values help us as a compass and guide us in our daily lives. So before we get into today's conversation and meet our amazing guest, we do want to meet you too. We think this is a great opportunity to meet people from around the world, make some new connections. So please drop by in the chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from today and what you might be doing. Maybe you're grabbing a snack. Maybe you're getting ready for bed. We know that this is a 24/7 operation, so we'd love to hear from you. And hey, Mo, we see you're tuning in from the Philippines. We do want to be sure to give our condolences and our shout out to everyone who's been experiencing the typhoons there as well. So today we are joined by our second time guest, Nick Johnson, who is our director of ethics. And he's going to share, he has this really incredible ability to not make compliance not about check boxes and, okay, I checked the box, I did this. Rather, he helps us to see how we can embed it in our daily lives and how we can really make it a part of the fabric of who we are and what we do. So today we're going to explore how he came about his values and his role here at TTEC. And we're also going to, through our conversation, be able to help you uncover and discover what your value set could look like as well. So, hey, Nick, let's go ahead and meet you today.
Hey, Rebecca. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Awesome. Thanks so much. We're so glad that you're back again. We know it's an incredibly busy week with Compliance and Ethics Week and all that you and the team do for our company as well. So I appreciate you setting some time aside to join us here today. Also, just real quick, Nick, wanted to give a shout out to Todd joining us from Virginia. Time for a sandwich. Stamatios is joining us from Greece, as well as Dora. So it is wonderful to see people really across the globe tuning in with us here today. And we're going to get to hear a little bit more about your story, Nick. So I'd love to start at the kind of the very beginning. Transparently, when I was in high school, no one said there's a job for a director of ethics. Didn't know that was a thing, right? So could you tell us, like, how did you come to this role and how have values played out in your life as well before we jump into the rest of the conversation today?
Definitely. Well, the career kind of found me, and it was interesting because, to your point, actually, this field really didn't exist in its current form back then. It's grown quite a bit over the years. But throughout my life and educational journey, I've naturally gravitated toward conversations about ethics and how we think about the world around us, what's right, what's wrong. Kind of, this is geeky, but how do we define right and wrong? And when you really start to get into the nitty gritty with that, you understand different frameworks, different points of view, different ways that various cultures view this. Absolutely fascinating topic. And then as someone who's also a systems-based thinker, naturally gravitated towards the compliance side. So looking at policies and procedures. And this is a really cool hybrid of both of those worlds. And we can understand the psychological, like I said, the values-based part, how that applies to our policies and our risk management framework. So really fascinating. But for me, I can think of a couple different points in my education journey that stood out. During my undergraduate experience, our business program was actually structured around values. So that was the very first thing we talked about when we started undergraduate level business classes, where they said, hey, our entire program is centered around these foundational values. This is why we have them. And this is why we've structured our content around that. And then throughout our educational journey, we would check in with them and we would actually connect what we were learning to those core foundational values. And it made it click for me. And I went, wow, I can see how this is incredibly effective and powerful to shape just this environment that we're in educational space. So that kind of started the conversation. And then as my career evolved and I grew into a more ethics oriented role within the compliance space, started to see how that can be applied not just to, in my case, in education, but an entire company. So now we have these huge groups of people and we can say, hey, let's talk about this as a group. And it generates a lot of really positive benefits. So
Yeah, so
talk about those with you.
it sounds like the values really conversation really found you, gravitated to you throughout your journey. And there might be some people tuning in right now who are like, oh gosh, you know what? I don't know what my values are. Like, how do I get there? Is it too late? So could you guide us today a little bit to talk about how can we discover these values that we may not have in our life right now?
Absolutely. Great opportunity for a little bit of personal reflection. There's never a too late point in this space, and it's something that we all will evolve over time. As we change how our priorities and our lives will change, and how we reflect on these will too. But let's say you maybe haven't had the opportunity to put a lot of thought into your own values. I would encourage people to think about one, what do you care about? And what makes you feel strongly, whether that's positive or negative, because sometimes the negative can be turned into a positive value, right? Like if you're really against unfairness, you can translate that to maybe fairness being a positive value. So think about what's kind of bringing out a strong emotion in you. If something in your life really makes you unhappy or unraged or passionate or excited, I think those are good starting points to feel, who you are at your core. Brainstorm with your family, have your trusted circle. That can, depending on the people in your orbit, that can be a fun dinner table conversation sometimes. What really matters to you at a core level. If you come from like a faith community, that can also be a source of values that can maybe overlay with some of your personal ones or influence them. And then if you need help or you want brainstorming, I think this is a great AI opportunity too. Prompt your AI partner and say, hey, these are things that matter to me. I'm trying to write out my personal core values. How can we translate these feelings and these ideas into those? It's a little bit easier.
I love it. I think there's so many nuggets in there that you're saying, like that personal reflection, and then having those conversations with people that you care about and that know you and care about you. They might be able to say, "Hey, I see this in you that you might not even recognize in yourself as part of your value." And hey, it makes for a different dinner conversation, right? So that's great. Thank you so much for sharing some of those opportunities for us to reflect. And as I said at the top of the show, as we're wrapping up the year, this is the perfect time to say, hey, am I in alignment with my values here this year? And what are they going to look like going into the new year as well? So let's talk a little bit about how can our values help us in our day-to-day and here in the workplace too.
Definitely. So the reason why we're bringing this up in a work context is, one, it's really important to helping us figure out where we want to work and what we want to do. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then, that's bigger picture. We can't always make immediate changes in those places, but day to day, more tactically, values can help us navigate gray areas if we're facing decisions where we maybe don't know what the right answer to a question is. What direction do we take? What choice do we make? When we hit those gray areas, that's a sign to stop, pause, reflect, and look at your values and see if they can maybe be used to steer you in the right direction. I think that clarity is really grounding for a lot of folks and can help make decisions more efficient and can help us just work more effectively in our own personal lives and in our jobs.
Yeah, I mean, I can personally attest to that. I know many situations where I might be a little stuck and not quite sure how to solve it. I do turn to our company values. and talk with that with my team. Like, hey, maybe this is the opportunity for us to put seek first, understand into place, or this is a great opportunity to, roll up our sleeves and act as one. And so there are those times where we're humans, right? We're going to get stuck on things, and the values and our personal values and our company values can help really guide us to that next best decision. So how, Nick, do our personal values and our company values align? And what does that look like when we can bring those together?
Definitely. So the reason why we bring up personal values is it can be a great tool to help find work and companies that you want to work with, organizations you want to work with, to make sure that they're in alignment. So if you have your personal values kind of set, when you're on the job hunt or you're looking at defining the next chapter in your career, having your personal values defined can help it make easier to make those connections and link that up and be in a position that's a great fit for you. We'll talk a little bit more about how to do that. But when they do align, it's incredibly powerful. I know that we all want to feel good about the work that we do. We want to get out of bed in the morning and be motivated to go to our jobs. And, at the end of the day, look back at what we've worked on, or even at the end of the month or year, and say, hey, I'm proud of the work that I'm doing. And the more that your personal values and the values of your workplace are in alignment, the happier you'll be, and actually the healthier you'll be. So from a neuroscience perspective, it's really fascinating. A lot of research is coming out to suggest that it can actually have physical health effects on the body if these things aren't in alignment. If you're doing work every day that's just completely opposite of what you value, that can be harmful. So it's really it's a win-win when all these things can line up. Folks are more productive, they're happier in their jobs, and that benefits obviously both companies, but more importantly ourselves too.
Nick, you had me at healthier, and I would love to geek out later with you over the studies. I think wellness is such a big component of who we are and what we do. Health is wealth, all that good stuff. So I love that you're bringing that into this, so that can give us even more compelling reasons why this is really foundational to have in our personal life and in our work life too. So so we're going to geek out later. Okay, Nick? So, we talked a little bit earlier about ways to self-reflect on what your values could be, bringing people into the conversation. We didn't talk about, is there a sweet spot for the number of values? Should I have 10 values, 3 values, 5 values? And do my values, especially again, looking at this point in time that we are in the year, will my values change next year? How does that look for us?
Great question. So I'd say there's no hard right or wrong answer. This is such a personal topic. But my suggestion would be, let's land on 3 to 5, just simply for clarity and ease of remembering. I know I personally could not keep 10 in my brain over time, and I would start to think, okay, maybe there's an opportunity to combine them. Maybe we can have something that's a little more overarching, and under those, you can explain what that means to you on a personal level. So I personally suggest 3 to 5. I say keep them simple, keep them high level, and then grow from that. And you mentioned too, reflection, changing over time. They definitely can evolve. I would suggest that if a person's values are taking some really wild swings, that might be an opportunity to go, hey, maybe I might need to do just a little more self-reflection. What's maybe causing these big changes? But it's also natural for them to evolve. I would imagine the values of someone who is maybe at a younger stage in their life are going to be different than someone who is with a partner or a spouse and has children and caregiving responsibilities, right? Their priorities and their values will probably change over time. So that's normal. Yeah, I would suggest if someone's experiencing some really drastic, wild shifts, that might be a sign that something that it would be worth investing a little time to think about.
Okay, that's great. I'm glad. Not 10.
Not 10. Yeah, keep it simple, keep it clear. It's definitely my suggestion for a lot of things in life, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly. The more clarity we have, the more ability we have to reach that goal. And I think that's a really great point about the kind of the wild swings, and life happens, and maybe something drastic happened in your life, so you do have that wild swing, but at least you can know why you have that if you're doing that reflection.
Exactly. Self-reflection is always positive, and it translates into happiness and fulfillment in our work lives. So love that we're talking about this. And I just realized I didn't share my own values, so I'm happy to put those out there. But
Yeah.
this conversation was a great opportunity for me to reflect as well. I realized it'd been a little while since I put thought into this. So appreciate the opportunity to do that. But mine are integrity, curiosity, fairness, and impact. I really feel strongly about doing what I say that I'll do. That's kind of how I value integrity, showing up honestly, being transparent. Curiosity, I like to continue learning, like experiencing new things. I really value travel. We talked about that. So curiosity kind of umbrellas that, and that helps me learn and grow as a person in my job and seek new opportunities to try new things. Really value fairness and weighing all sides in a situation. Something that I'm really lucky I'm able to actually embody that in my job on a day-to-day basis, but something that I hold very near and dear. And then impact. I guess the way I got to impact was thinking about, how am I approaching the world? Am I having a net positive, a neutral, or like a net negative impact on the people and the environment around me? Am I treating people the way that I would want to be treated? Am I being generally as respectful as I can? So I kind of blank that under impact.
Well, you're making a great impact here with us today, helping us to kind of have those thought-provoking moments of what is mine and am I living up to it in the situations where people might not even be watching, right? So, and I know we'll talk about that in a second. I do want to go over to the audience real quick and give a shout out to Bria tuning in from Denver. We have Fatma joining us from Egypt. Pranav says, "Hey, Nick." He's from India. And Todd says, "Having personal values gives you direction and purpose, which naturally brings a sense of joy and fulfillment to everything you do." I think that ties in beautifully with what you were saying about being a healthier you, when you can bring that sense of joy and fulfillment to what you do. So thank you, everyone in the chat. We've got a little more homework for you, for our audience tuning in as well. What is the one value that helps you to guide your decisions? We would really love to hear from you. Give us maybe some people who haven't really uncovered their values, or they're taking a look, maybe some values they haven't thought about. So please drop in the chat a value that has helped guide your decisions in your life as well. And Mo, thank you so much. She says, "Always great hearing from Nick. Loved your Fresh Perspective podcast episode with Micaiah." Ooh, that was a good one. That was a few months ago, so we're going to have to bring that back to life. It is on our Mosaic space, on our values page. So if you're here with TTEC, you can tune into that as well with Micaiah and Nick. Okay, so we're just real quick. I know you were sharing a little bit about your values, but I love the quote that you and I were talking about. Could you share that quote with us here today?
Absolutely. So one of my favorite quotes about this subject is C.S. Lewis, and he said that integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. So the way that we're acting when people are watching us and the way that we're acting in our private lives really should be in alignment. Like that's definitely a should. And if maybe there's a disconnect there, I would say that that's a great opportunity for reflection. But for me, truly having integrity is being consistent in both those spaces. So even when maybe other people might not see you, we still acting in alignment with our values, right? How are we defining that?
Yeah, that's a really strong point for all of us to consider, especially like in a work from home environment. There could be the opportunity to sneak off and do some laundry. Is that really the right thing? I don't know. Probably staying focused on your work at hand is. And so, yeah, checking in with your personal values, your company values is probably a really great place to start. And Stamatio says, "More critical thinking when it's backed up by empathy and reading between the lines." So I know he started off with critical thinking and then developed that thought a little bit more. And thank you so much for sharing that, because that helps us think a little bit differently too. And Dora, who's our amazing producer, she shares, "Having integrity and seeking first to understand, especially with my team." And Nick, I think that brings us beautifully into, here at TTEC, bringing that conversation of, because she mentioned seek first, understand, which is one of our values. So how can we connect more with our values here at TTEC for those that are tuned in or interested in learning more about us?
Definitely. So in the last quote, I mentioned doing what's right. And that means something maybe a little bit differently to all of us. We come from an incredible range of backgrounds. We operate in 20 plus countries around the world, varying different cultures. It's fantastic. But an organization of our size would be going all sorts of different directions if we didn't kind of come together and say, this is how we define right as an organization. So first is connecting with our values. The best way to do that, and I would say with both TTEC and any organization, is to take a look at their code of conduct. Or at TTEC, we call it our ethics code. It's posted publicly, and that will, one, define the values of the organization, and then it will actually help bring those to life. So it will explain what they mean, and then how we actually make them happen, how we act on them. So for TTEC, instead of saying integrity, we say do the right thing, which is fantastic because I think it makes it a little bit more real, more actionable. But right can, again, be taken so many different ways. So if you take a look at our ethics code, it will actually give you examples of what right and maybe not right looks like. It will give you tools on how to navigate those spaces. It will give you other policies to maybe look at if you're in a gray area and you don't know how to answer a question, you're in a vague situation. And I think that those are really important for people on the job market looking at an organization. If you don't know, or you don't maybe have an opportunity to ask a recruiter right away, when you're applying to different jobs, take a look at companies' codes of conduct. Even their impact sustainability reports are fantastic ways to kind of see what matters to companies at a really high level, where they're aiming, and how you might fit in. It can be a great source of interview questions also.
I know Bree is tuning in today, and there's a lot of effort, a lot of work that goes into the impact and sustainability report, and a lot of heart and people who are really passionate about what we do here at TTEC. So yeah, definitely check that out on ttec.com. We also have it linked from ttecjobs.com. So if you're interested in learning more about TTEC from a candidate perspective, definitely check out TTEC Jobs. You can see our values, how they are in action. You can check out our social feed and see how we're really bringing it to life. So thank you, Nick, for, there's maybe many people tuning in who haven't worked at a company that's A, global, or B, has this ethics code. So it's a great opportunity for all of us to learn and dive a little bit deeper, whether we're here at TTEC or at other companies as well. Over to Todd real quick. Todd says, prioritizing well-being is something that has been important to me recently. And yes, Todd, we support you in your journey, your wellness journey. And Bria, I believe, loves Dora's values. She said she understands why you would work at TTEC. A lot of them overlap as well. And maybe that was to yours, Nick. So I think a couple people had some of the same ones in common, which is great. So as we go to wrap up our time today, because again, it's Compliance and Ethics Week, and I know you have a lot going on your plate, Nick, we wanted to wrap up today with really talking to people leaders, team leads, people here on joining us for this conversation about how can we really help to bring values into not just the big moments, but the everyday moments, the Tuesdays, the Wednesdays, the just after a lunch break. Could you give us a little bit more advice on how we can make sure that we're sharing our values with our teams?
Absolutely. This is such a great way for all of us to bring them to life. One, know the values. I would say that's definitely the first step, is understand what they are. We have tons of resources on Mosaic and our ethics code and plenty of other places that help us understand what those are. But use them to explain decisions. When we're giving instructions, or we're picking a direction as a team, or we're supporting our colleagues and team members, we're not just saying do this, or this is what we're going to do. We're saying, hey, we're going to go this direction because it aligns with our value on acting as one, or striving for amazing, or doing the right thing, or even living life passionately. We talk about that a lot when we're taking time away from work and we're maybe resetting to come back in recharged. We align that directly with our live life passionately value. I will give my people manager a shout out for doing that on a regular basis. But mentioning those on a more regular frequency will be really helpful to start normalizing them. They're in the front of your mind. We're starting to use them more often. People get comfortable with them. It definitely doesn't have to be like a formal effort. If we think of a decision and we're trying to explain that to our team members, or we're getting questions, tie it to a value. Start to have those conversations. It can be very easy, it can feel small initially, but after time, those become more commonplace. We start talking about them more frequently, and that grows. It's super positive.
I like that intentional thinking approach to a situation you're potentially stuck in and you're not quite sure how to get out, and you can talk with your team about it, and even saying maybe transparently, hey, I was stuck. I didn't know what the decision was to make here. I turned to our values, and give them the real life scenario that then they can pay forward and apply in situations where they may need to inform their decision in a different way. So I love it that we use these casual moments, or the moments when people really need it, to kind of be more intentional about how we talk about our values as well, and live up to those values as people leaders too is very important as well. And I love that you gave a shout out to your people manager for helping you live up to the value of live life passionately too, which is great. Well, thank you so much, Nick, for guiding us through the importance of our own values, of doing the right thing, acting with integrity, helping us to figure out, either with our AI buddy or our friends and family around the dinner table, what our own values are. I know I feel a lot better that I don't need 10 because maybe I don't think I'd remember them all. And I think this is a great time for myself to reflect as well. So I appreciate the opportunity for us to have this conversation, for all that you and our legal team do to make sure that TTEC is a respectful environment, and inclusive environment for all. So shout out to you and your whole team. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Have a great rest of your week. All right. Thanks so much to Nick for joining us here today. And if you like what you've heard, we have some jobs for you. So please head over to ttechjobs.com, where you can find jobs that we have throughout the world. As Nick said, we are a global company, so we have amazing opportunities all over the world. Today, we're going to spotlight the Philippines. And once again, our hearts go out to everybody that may have been affected by the recent earthquake, typhoons, flooding going on in the Philippines. We want to know that our hearts go out to you and your families. And we're here working hard to support our employee experience. And we are still hiring because we have clients around the world to still take care of for healthcare. So if you are in Cebu and you're looking for a job where you can immediately get hired, we have the opportunity for you. Our team will be dropping it in the chat. You'll have the opportunity to help people with their healthcare needs. So the main message here is, if you're in Cebu, you're looking to get hired, we've got a great opportunity for you, a great opportunity to join a best workplace in the Philippines, a certified great place to work, and some of my favorite team members that we have across the globe. So please do check out that position. We also have a chat inbound sales representative also supporting our team as well. So please check out the jobs that we have in the chat. If you don't happen to be in the Philippines, I know that we had people tuning in from Greece, Egypt, around the world. Please do come to ttechjobs.com and check out what might be the next best thing for you. You can also check out our values there as well. So if you also want to learn more about what Nick was sharing here today, you can head to ttech.com, and I'm going to get this right, ttech.com/ethics slash code, or hyphen code. And that's how you can find out about our ethics code. Check out our impact and sustainability report. Check out our values, and you can always tune into our socials so you can see our amazing team and their stories about our work environment from around the world. Thank you all so much for your time today, tuning in, eating a sandwich, or whatever you might have been doing. We appreciate you being here, and we'll see you back next time. Have a great day, everyone.